go. We are hopefully live. Let's actually switch to the projects I'm going to be using. Okay, welcome to the stream, everyone. I see that there have been some people just waiting at the door to get in, so that's always reassuring. Now, we have a few things to get into, and the idea for this stream is that we should be clustering Raspberry Pis. So, I believe I've added support for clustering to these two projects, and we will look a little bit closer at what that means. Right. So, as you can see, I have a small collection of Raspberry Pis here. This is the Pi 400, a Raspberry Pi Zero with an e-ink screen on it. This is actually so to speak, in production right now. It's showing, it's actually showing some of my calendar events right now, but they're harmless. So one is this live stream and one is a potential meeting later. This one isn't doing anything right now, or I don't actually know what firmware I have on it, and I don't particularly care. We're going to do something with it. And this one is running some of the firmware pushed to it previously. That's the project deck, that's up here. And oh, hey Nolan. Yeah, I don't know what YouTube does when I press go live, but I imagine I've seen that with quite a few live streaming things where, oh, the stream starts and then nothing happens, so it doesn't actually throw you into the stream, which would be what you'd expect. It's very nice to see people lining up and then everyone just drops because we're live. But eventually people find their way here, and then I think it mostly works out. So I'm just taking a look at what we have here. Alright, so I was playing during a previous stream. I played around with joining Raspberry Pis together into an Erlang cluster in a sort of manual way with MDNS. Now what we're trying to do is, or what we have been doing, is to make them join each other automatically. So I built a library. It's a very dirty library. It's not a nice polished sort of distribution strategy. It's just the quickest way to having the thing work. So we can look at a little bit of the code here. We start a gen server. As it starts, make sure that you're running EPMD, which is the Erlang protocol something daemon. It's the thing that manages distribution for Erlang. We start a node. So we start as a node with the host name based on something that Nerves provides, which is a unique host name based on the serial number. We set the cookie based on our options. You can see here that I've configured my nice secret cookie. Very secure, highly secure. It's one of the best cookies you can use. I'm joking. We save that, keep it around, and then we start sending these check messages, and the check message triggers another check message when it's done. We call query for nodes, and we pipe the result of that into connect nodes. Query for nodes, It builds an MDNS query based off of this EPMD TCP local thing. That makes a query, multicast that using MDNS Lite, sleep for an arbitrary amount of time. In this case, I think 2 seconds. Yeah, 2000 milliseconds. And then we query all the caches, because we should have results in our caches at that point, hopefully. We grab the records from that, and then we do some mangling to just pull the host names out of those records. Hey Adam, welcome aboard. Then we filter those by the ones that respond to a node ping, which means that they are responding correctly according to what Erlang distribution requires. So that gives us a list of host names. It might be an empty list. We feed that into connect nodes. And then we go through each of them and connect to them. Then we return the node list. It's not a very fancy approach. And I believe I'm running this on, let's see, I think I'm running that at terminal.local. So that would be the Pi 400. No, right, I haven't plugged it in. That would prevent it from working. Okay. Meanwhile, we can check on the calendar one. So we can, if we do node.list on this, it has no nodes. It's finding no nodes. So that tells us that either I haven't shipped the firmware that does the node thing to this, I believe I have, or it just hasn't found any nodes yet, which is also very possible. So let's see, yeah, now this one is up. And now that one is saying that there's a node out there. This one is saying that there's a node out there. So these two can talk to each other. Which means that when I'm if I'm tappity typing on this Pi 400 keyboard and I have a display connected, I could make this device do things, and vice versa. But this one doesn't have any buttons, it doesn't have any inputs aside from what I can do over the network. This one has a full-on keyboard, so I could do some cool stuff with that. I was going to try something with this thing. So this is a very cool piece of kit. It's the Keybow from, I think it's Adafruit or Pimoroni. Yeah, it's called a Keybow, and it's like an RGB keyboard. It's a mini keyboard, RGB programmable. But the thing is, I don't have an up-to-date firmware for that, which I think might hinder some of what I want to do with the node connection stuff, and I don't want to dig into that during this stream, because I think that's probably slow, involved, and frankly boring. But at least we have this thing which we could connect, which isn't currently connected. But let's see the top one here. And as always, let me know if you have questions. Let me know if you need to sleep. Let me know if you are curious about anything in particular, or if something's weird with the stream, like audio, or if something is visually unclear. I'm happy to try to correct it. Okay, so this top one, that's the Pi 400. We can actually make that talk to, or we can actually have that make something happen on the Inky one. So let's see, do we have a good thing we want it to do? So I could do calendar app dot calendar dot, let's see, actually I don't remember what the things are here. We have get next event, for example. So we could start by doing PID equals self, so we have a way to send things back to this thing. Node.spawn, we're spawning a function. That function calls calendar dot get next event. Oh, calendar list. Pipe those into calendar app calendar dot get next event. I believe this should produce something. I'm unsure if I should trust my terminal. Spawn. Node spawn is undefined apart. Oh, right. I do need to provide a node for which to do this. So let's do that. Alright, it doesn't send the next event. Get next event. Jesus. And so I'm gonna get a result here. And I want to assign that. Oh, this is a little bit painful. I'm doing everything on one line, which I wouldn't recommend typically. I could absolutely switch it to multiple lines. It's just a little bit annoying. Okay, node spawn. Let's do node dot list hd. So this is our node that we want to spawn on. We can define our function like this instead. So we do, in this function we do r equals calendar app calendar dot list, and we do calendar app calendar dot get next event inside that. And then we do a send PID, which we defined earlier. We should be able to just send result r message back. So that's the function. We're not calling that function yet, but now we do node spawn and f. And if I flush, no message. Actually, it might take a moment to get next event, but I would have expected a message. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Hey McBull. So PID, yeah, that's there. It should be passed along. Because if I run, let's check our code a little bit. Oops. Something I need to fix is that this can print my secret URL for the calendar, which I will now have to rotate, which is annoying. Huh. Like updating this takes a fair bit of time. The Pi Zero is not a super fast machine, so I think that's why replies are slow, potentially. Okay. Did not expect it to essentially lock up though. Am I killing this poor machine? Oh well. The important thing about that is that we are able to call code on these different ones. Now I've rotated my calendar, so this should no longer work at all. That's what you get when you expose secrets on stream. Alright. But there's more fun stuff to do here. So these things are on my local network, and the calendar gadget I keep running day to day sort of. So that one's a good candidate for, well actually it doesn't have buttons, so right now I don't want to play with that. Let's play with shipping. I wonder if we can ship the deck build. I guess we should be able to ship this to another device. So if I export mix target equals archive0. So my thinking is to start something for that one. So I'm guessing, is that up as nerves.local? It's up as foot.local. It's good to have rememberable names. Memorable names. Okay, so we have a nerve system up and running on that one, but it doesn't have, I don't believe it has the node detection thing. So I'm going to ship this deck code. I'm going to build that as firmware for it. Lib nerves node module tool sheds not loaded, cannot be found. It seems weird to me. I think it. Wait, hold on. Mix. I set mix n. No, I set mix target correctly. So what's in this n thing? It's just that. I'm surprised that's happening. I haven't seen that one before. Is this a trouble finding stream maybe? So I know I hooked up this screen with, like previously, with some fun stuff. So I was hoping to use that again, because since it has buttons, we can do fun stuff with it. But I don't understand why. Source this again and do fix firmware. Oh yeah, I was working on the impression, that's why it links Inky. That explains that. That I can remove. So this doesn't have to be here. Hope we can build now. I don't understand this one. Nerves node doesn't hasn't changed since last time I ran a build. And tool shed should exist. That shouldn't be an issue. Actually, hold on. There's a thing where it works if I have it as a path dependency, but doesn't work if I pull it. No? These are boring things to have issues with. Why is it module toolshed is not loaded and cannot be found? This is where I find the module toolshed. It's right there in the dependencies. It's right there in the dependencies. So I haven't seen this happen before when burning firmware. I wonder if export mix and equals prod helps? Doubt it. No. And now, like if I go back to building this for the Pi 4, I still have that issue. Surprising. So if I go into the calendar gadget, which also has this stuff in here, so nerves. No, it's also using the same approach. Source. And that's fine. If I exit this, sometimes it's all troubleshooting. Nerve system is not set. Yeah, for this one I haven't. Source and why would it not find toolshed? I don't understand that. This one has 0.2.13 of toolshed. Being built as production though, which didn't seem to matter. See if I can make this break too. Maybe I added something that's broken, but I don't think so. Let's see. Current application does not depend on toolshed, MDNS Lite. Is the issue that Nerve's node does not declare toolshed as a dependency? I guess that's fair. What version does it matter? Point 2.30. And it expects MDNS Lite at no, this one has it. 0.8 plus 13 is fine. This is 0.8.3. Okay, so now we add those. Maybe that gets rid of those warnings, and in this project, maybe that will let us build, which would be nice. Seems better. So now we could do the part where we build it for the smaller Pi. Probably. With a little bit of luck. The dependencies, that's always a bit of a challenge. Can always cause trouble. Right, there's one more thing I probably want to change before pushing this. Nerves encountered an error. Can't open path. Don't know what that's about. Could be that I'm running out of file descriptors or something. I've had a little bit of an issue with that today. We'll see. Right, are we going to check this? So, this one doesn't say what hostname it will have, but I do want it to have a hostname that is not nerves. I don't want it to collide with this, so I'll call it, yeah, gamepad. It's close enough. What's that about? So it complained that it couldn't open something. What was that? Couldn't open images/image. Okay. I mean, I can remove this folder and just let it try again if it wants. Yeah, that's. Okay. Don't know what's going on there. Haven't seen this one before. Copying rootfs overlay, rpi 0 prod nerves rootfs overlay. Copying. Can't open that. I guess there could be like a broken download or something of an image. That's always a risk. So, which one was it? 1.6.2 something, I think. 1.16.2. So, this one. Well, sometimes streams are trickier than others, and we get to play around with fixing things, figuring out what's going on. So these systems, that's the sort of base operating system image that Nerves gives us, or so we don't have to do so much to get the rpi 0 working. And I imagine something went wrong with the download. I don't know for sure. Now we're downloading a new one at least. We're also set to prod, which we don't have to be. Sure, there's no difference. No. Wow, that's unsatisfying. Nerves encountered an error. IO stream. Can't open the path. Kernel 8 that image. Yeah, I don't think it's in there. File resource, kernel 8 that image. Oh. Hold on, I did a bunch of custom stuff to this one, right? Sorry, this is on me. All me. Alright. Let's see. What's the best thing to do here? So, I was screwing around with getting screens to work with the Pi 400. That's what I'm using this project for typically. And as part of that, I played with a bunch of this config.txt stuff, which can cause a lot of problems. Like it's fairly specific per type of Raspberry Pi, so that's why we're seeing all these problems. Okay, let's see if I have a decent version lying around. Was this one of the ones where we try to use images? No. Alright, I think this puts this one out of scope for this session, unfortunately. I should have prepped a project for it. I could probably get the calendar project going on it, actually. And then do things that way, but it might be a little bit too involved. What I can show is the screen that I screwed up this deck project to get working. I believe this is set up with the last working config for that. And none of this is important. You can remove those. Alright, one moment, I'll fetch some hardware. So rather than powering this thing, I can pull power from that, put that into this little screen here to give it some power. Now it has power. I think I also need to check to get the correct HDMI cable. Hold on. So this regular HDMI and the other end is super annoying micro HDMI. I feel like the Pi 400 could have easily carried full HDMI. I wonder if this is too little power, actually. Didn't do anything when I plugged it in, which I would have expected. Alright, let's try this one instead. That's been working before. Not a blink. Could just be that I need to tell it to restart. Well, it blinked. And there we have it. Picture. So I like this. I think this is a neat setup. So can just type whatever I want here. Can barely see what I'm typing because I'm over here. And now it seems unresponsive. That's nice. Having the best luck today. Don't know why it would become unresponsive, but that's something we can look at. Yeah, that's just complaining about the Ethernet, which that's just a small bug that I've reported. So that was more or less instant. Don't see why. Could be that I lost a bit of connection. No? Interesting. Told it to reboot. We'll see how that goes. not super impressed with my luck with the hardware today. So let's try. Oh, okay. I don't even know what kind of keyboard I'm on right now. So it seems like the moment I get that error, I sort of I'll lose control over the keyboard and screen combo. That's unfortunate. I think it's fixable. I just don't know what it is. But yeah, it's very quiet in the chat. I'm assuming everyone's just suffering on my behalf. That's fine. Sound off if you're in there, so I know that things are still working. Other than that, I think we're getting close to wrapping up, but yeah, I like this screen because it's a decent form factor, decently sized, and matching that up with the Pi 400 gives you a keyboard and a screen, which you can do a lot with. I also need to take a closer look at how this one is driven, because I know I could do some interesting stuff with this, because it does have both input and output, in the sense that you have the buttons, very nice clicky buttons, and you have the colors, which means you can at least give feedback to what you're doing with it. And I just finished playing around with setting this up, so this should be doable. So I have key lights, which I use for both this kind of thing, streaming. I generally I use them for light. So now I've discovered my key lights using MDNS, and I can just do key light off, send in my devices, and suddenly my video goes darker. And I can do on. And this, I haven't shipped this to one of the nurse devices yet. Actually, we might just be able to do that fairly easily. We can try that. My final touch of ambition with this cursed hardware day. Let's try it. Let's see if we can do a thing I want to do. I'm not that upset. I'm a little bit frustrated that things have not been working the way I intended them to. I honestly don't know if my stream is working because it's very quiet in the chat, and usually people are at least saying something. Alright. I'll hassle you guys to respond, so I know that I'm not offline. Stream is working and chat as well. Thank you, Tim. That's much appreciated. So, I recognize that people are sometimes doing other things while watching the stream, and that's absolutely fine, but sometimes when you're having a lot of technical issues on other ends, you get a little bit concerned about whether it's working at all. Okay, let's see, I'll upload this firmware to terminal.local, which should be that one. And that should put the key light in there. Now, if I go to deck, I don't believe I've added input events library, have I? Oh, that's unfortunate. That would be good to have. Okay. It's restarting. You can see that because the screen blanked. Okay, we're up. We're all alone. And we can see if this one can discover my key lights. And it can. That's what I would expect, because a lot of the nerve stuff already uses MDNS, which this is. So I can get the status of these. Apparently I can't. inet's start is undefined. Module inet's is not available. Surprising. Maybe I need to do something to pack inets into nerves, because I use inets to make queries against these devices. So let's see, nerves, inets start is undefined. It might be something where nerves is not shipping with inets just because they have so much of their own networking stuff. I'm not sure. We might just be able to add it to our application. Mixer inets. I know I need to run inets start, but I don't have inets on this one. So I think that would be an extra applications for Elixir. My mix EXS, I guess. Try it again. So what I'm using inets for in the keylight library is to make, so I'm using Erlang's built-in HTTP client, HTTPC, and that one uses inets. So I guess I'm just trying to start the internets. I don't know what inets is supposed to be, but it's networking. So now it's up. Okay, there. And now it's on the network. But I'm not using that to do the discovery part, so that's why that worked regardless. And now maybe we will be able to do keylight status. Yeah, so now you can see that mine are all at 100% brightness, 181 temperature. I need to do the Kelvin conversion, which I haven't done yet. And I can send them a set. I can just do a set like this, and do brightness 50, for example. I just still have to spell, but now the light faded a bit. I can do 10, even darker. I can do 100. I can set it to 100, but also on 0, which turns them off. And if I wanted, I should be able to just turn on, rather I can do, so if I just grab one of them from D, and yeah, let's set on 1, not a non-empty list. Alright, that gives me key value, so 1. No? D. So num dot first. D. No. D. No, that's not a thing. List dot first is a thing. D1 let's D num dot take 1 head, and if we do LM1, that should give us just that. Like on D1 turn on. Sweet. Light on the turns on. Alright, so that's the lighting library, and this means that potentially I could have any of my Raspberry Pis handle turning lights off and on, which is it's a nice little feature, a nice little way of doing it, and I would like to be able to use this one for that, just because it has convenient buttons. So that's something I'm considering. Just have this automatically join other Raspberry Pis on the network and have buttons on it for switching on and off the key lights, and maybe it's changing brightness and temperature, that kind of thing. This is all fairly simplistic nerves and IoT stuff. It's using a lot of what's already there and using a lot of the things. Like, I didn't have to build anything very involved to get this going. I just had to know about a bunch of different parts and connect them together. So yeah, I can strongly recommend playing around with this stuff. It's great fun. And I have more things I want to do, something I do want to do. So now that I have this screen working, we have the Scenic framework, which is a UI framework, which is getting a major update, and there's a new driver that should work on sort of any display from a Raspberry Pi. Previously it was very specific, so now it should work with a multitude of displays, which will make it much more useful in many ways. And the Scenic framework is cool, so that's something I'm keen to try. Should also work with a mouse is the intent for the Scenic framework now, which it hasn't done previously. That's also a good improvement. So that's something I'm considering for next stream. But if you have ideas about what you would like to see me bash my head against on a stream, don't hesitate to let me know. Open for suggestions. I'll always go with whatever I feel like, but you might just tip the scales towards whatever you want to see. So give it a shot, and give Nerves a shot. It's really fun. And if you want to keep up to date with Nerves, you have the Nerves newsletter, which I'm writing, that you can find via underu.io or on the Nerves website. Alright, I think that about wraps it up. Thanks for watching, and have a great weekend. See you around.